Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Saints in mandatory mini camp. Dennis Allen met with the media yesterday, also did today as well. And, sometimes as fans, we're sitting in the back and we're going, oh, is this OTAs? Is this mini camp? Is it mandatory mini camp or just regular mini camp? Is it rookie? This is mandatory minicamp. And Dennis Allen spoke to what the Saints can get out of this week on the practice field.
There's not really any true evaluation of anything going on right now, just because you're limited in terms of what you can do from a contact standpoint, right? So I think you can get a feel, but I certainly don't think any decisions could be made based off what we're seeing out here right now. And the good news is we got plenty of time to do that.
A lot of install, I would think, certainly trying to get the rookies on the same speed, because when you get to training camp, you want to hit the ground running. You want everybody on the same page. It feels like a long time, but coaches would probably tell you they don't get enough time to get installed and get ready for that first game. So to me, I think it's just more of an install situation for the Saints, specifically on offense. We were worried yesterday whether or not Marshon Lattimore would be there. Alvin Kamara also in that number. Is he going to be at minicamp? And he was. So Dennis Allen, well, how did he look?
You had to be in fairly decent physical condition to get through these elements out here today. I mean, it was hot out here today, so I thought he looked explosive. There's a couple of really good runs that I was impressed with. So again, like I said, both those guys being out here was a positive, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with them.
And so my point being, like, a lot of install here, and we haven't seen a lot of Alvin Kamara in the offseason. He hasn't been around all that much. And so the question begs is he behind with this new offense in Clint Kubiak and Derek Carr and what they're trying to get accomplished? Because you would imagine that Alvin Kamara is going to be a pretty big piece to what they're trying to do offensively. So is he behind?
I would say that remains to be seen. I didn't get a sense that he was behind today, in terms of being able to get lined up, being able to execute his job. I think there might have been one protection that he might have been off on. I had to go in and look at it, but I thought for the most part he was on point with his assignments and what he needed to be doing. I think
he'll pick it up. At this point, Alvin Kamara is a vet, and he's a pro, and he'll get that figured out. If it's not this week in mandatory minicamp, I think he'll have enough time in training camp to get all that figured out. Going over to the defensive side of the ball, Alontae Taylor is a guy that we've talked about a good bit. Marshon Lattimore's name came out. Well, are they ready to move on from him? And they can go ahead and put Paulson Adebo out there. What's Kool-Aid McKinstry's role, and how does that handle Alontae Taylor? And there are a lot of moving parts there, and this is Dennis Allen's neck of the woods. This is his corner of the store, whatever cliche you want to use. He's the secondary guy, and he said that Alontae Taylor would be the starting nickel if it were today.
Yeah, I think as we sit here right now, Alontae Taylor's that guy.
Is he willing to want to really do that? How is his confidence level there?
Yeah, I think his confidence level is good. I think there were some areas that he could have improved on from last year. I think he's approached it the right way. He's working extremely hard at it. He's a talented player. And look, I would say to be too harsh on him for his performance last year, I think would be a little unfair, in that you're talking about a young guy that's, basically playing a position that he really hadn't played. And so, those things take a little bit of time to get a feel for, and I think you'll see an improved player in that area this year.
I think a lot of times, at least I'm a little bit guilty of this, when it comes to defensive back, whether you're playing on the outside to the boundary to the field, whether you're playing on the nickel, I feel like sometimes I just assume, well, if he's quick and fast, can flip his hips and play the ball, he can play anywhere. But the fact of the matter is that Alontae Taylor's played on the outside forever. He played on the outside at Tennessee, and that's where he's made his living in football. And now, because they've got Marshon Lattimore, because they've got Paulson Adebo, he has to go inside. And there were some times where he struggled, although I thought there were some times he played really well as well. So that's a guy that's just got to grow into it. He's got the skill set to do it. He runs great, got plenty of size. I think he's going to be fine in there at the nickel. Dennis Allen kind of elaborated on where he's seen some growth from Alontae Taylor.
Just his understanding of what we're asking him to do right now is 10 times, 20 times more than what it was at this point last year. So the floor that we're starting at is much higher than where we started at, last year. And so we're really basically, our floor this year is what our ceiling was last year. You with me? And we're hoping to build on that.
I shook my head a little bit when the Saints traded up to draft to what we would consider their strongest position. They traded up in the second round to take Kool-Aid McKinstry when they have all those guys we just talked about in the secondary that you feel pretty good about. I backed up a little bit on that, and I was like, you know what? This is part of that new offseason thought process that's like, we're not necessarily just signing players for this football team. We're not necessarily just drafting players for this football team. We're doing what's in the best interest of the organization long term. And if we think that Alontae Taylor's coming along, and we think that Paulson Adebo's a hit at corner, and we think that Marshawn Lattimore might not be here as of the end of the 2025 season, then maybe it's in our best interest to go ahead and draft Kool-Aid McKinstry for the future of this franchise. He's the best player we have on the board by a long shot. We didn't think he'd be here at this point. Let's go get it. So, with that in mind, like, maybe Kool-Aid McKinstry is not out there for the first defensive snap. You'd like to think a second-round pick was going to help you as a starter that year, but because of the depth that the Saints have, maybe that's not the case. So, Allen spoke to, will he compete at the nickel?
I see him competing in that spot, along with the outside corner position. And so, I don't really see anybody being just a nickel only. I see that position being a dual position player. So whether it's nickel safety, nickel corner, we don't have anybody on our team that's just a nickel only.
And that's part of the cross-training that goes into this whole thing, because you realize there are going to be injuries, there are going to be hiccups, there's going to be poor performance, and it's just a good thing to have guys cross-trained where they can go just about anywhere if you want to play some matchups. And so I think the draft pick does make sense, even though I scratched my head at the beginning of this process. And I think the Saints have done a really good job in a passing league, in a passing era, of fortifying a really quality secondary. I have my concerns with pass rush. I have my concerns with depth and age at linebacker. And certainly I have concerns on the offensive side of the ball with the offensive line. But at secondary, I pretty much got a good feel for what you got, and it's pretty damn good. So I would imagine the Saints will be in good shape there. So I think that we'll see Kool-Aid McKinstry work a lot of different places, and I think that he'll probably be on the outside end early. But there's a real chance that as the season progresses, that he'll become a real factor for New Orleans on the defensive side of the ball and kind of take over whenever the time is that Marshawn Lattimore is out the door. Lattimore spoke today to the media and expressed his desire to be on the team, be with the team, and do everything he could to make the team go. And so I think that at this point, you can assume that he's part of this process and that Kool-Aid McKinstry is as well, but just in a reserve role to this point. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.